Speaker.
Call Dr. Paul Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to speak on this Trade Safeguard Measures Bill, and I too want to congratulate the excellent Associate Minister, the Honourable John Banks, for his introduction of the bill in this timely fashion. Now, it was intriguing to hear the Honourable Marion Street make some comment about how long it took to bring this bill in, but I do note that in actual fact it was introduced under a Labour government in 2008 after 9 long, what does she say, shambling, bumbling, incompetent years of management. Finally, a good national government was able to take over this bill, and now here we are today bringing it through the second reading. This indeed is a technical bill, and indeed it is important to New Zealand. I can think of my own electorate in Hanua, which is responsible for a great deal of exports, in particular producer goods such as tomatoes, such as garlics, such as onion. They're all good for you. They're all great, good for growing body babies. These are the sorts of things that can be dumped and have been dumped in New Zealand, and that's what this bill is all about. It is important to point out that by definition, safeguard measures are emergency measures applied at the border, usually in the form of a duty to temporarily protect a domestic industry from a surge in imported goods. And as I think the Honourable Marion Street said, these safeguards conform with WTO rules and therefore are appropriate for safeguarding our very important international exports. The other point that I just wanted to note was that the Honourable John Banks had commended the Select Committee for its excellent work, and in particular the leadership of the Honourable John Hayes. And he did say that he was, why was this bill waiting for him to come into the House? Well, indeed, this is the Honourable John Banks' second coming, and it is fitting and nice that he is able to bring in this technical bill. That is something that is consistent very much with one of the issues that is dear to John Banks' heart. That is, of course, basic economic growth of the New Zealand economy, and indeed this is one of the very, very important parts of the framework that are going to bring that about. After all, over the last few years, New Zealand, under national, and I must say under the previous Labour government, has forged a variety of free trade agreements, and in the next few years we'll be leading at least 28 high-level missions to Asia countries in the next 3 years to expand trade and business links. We'll also continue to pursue high-quality trade agreements, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership and bilateral free trade agreements. So once again, whenever we enter into these free trade agreements, there is always the problem of dumping occurring, and that's why technically this bill is so important. Rev it up? Rev it up? Well, you see, over on that side, we had those 9 long, what did he call them? Shambling, bumbling, incompetent years of management. And New Zealand, in those days of very, very dire concern, when there was a world economic crisis, how did Labour handle it? Absolutely abysmally. So here we are today, fortunately, bringing in this highly constructive technical bill. And as John Banks pointed out, the bill prevents New Zealand from receiving a rapid influx of cheap imports. It allows time for New Zealand businesses to bring themselves up to the level of international competitiveness required to stay afloat. As a temporary measure, New Zealand consumers will continue to have the benefit of the free trade principles that underpin New Zealand's trading environment, and it can also have positive effects on investment as it can help balance economic swings so long-term investments may be safer. And finally, an effective safeguard regime can help build support for future trade liberalisation amongst domestic manufacturers who compete with imported trade. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very glad to commend this bill to the House.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr. Speaker, to reiterate my colleague